and I will very quickly introduce Ilana Trumble. So all of you gave some poster presentations and some speed presentations and some longer presentations yesterday, and Ilana has summarized some of the messages that we have taken away from those presentations. So thanks, Kim. Okay, hi everyone. So first off, I just want to welcome our virtual participants. So this is the only session we're going to have the symposium where we have an opportunity to interact live with some of our virtual participants. So they're on Zoom, and after I get through the slides, I'm going to pull them up and we can have a chance to hear from some of them and talk to them. And like Kim said, oh, actually, before I do that, so I just wanted to remind everyone that we have 3 virtual presentations on the website. And I know we saw a lot of presentations yesterday, but I think when you have a chance, these are really worth watching. All 3 presenters put a lot of work into what they did. And so I encourage you, when you have a chance, maybe when you're more refreshed tonight, to go check these out so we can continue the discussion with them in our future Zoom meetings and hear about what they did as well. Okay, so just to give an overview, remind ourselves where we are. The labs, we all conducted sustainability experiments, and there were 2 big goals. The first was to overcome sustainability challenges, and the second was to bring labs onto the path of a strong and sustainable stat lab. So right now we want to try to summarize where we are in this path, if we've accomplished these goals, what questions we still have, and next steps that we have based on the results of the experiments. Okay, so we heard experiments from 30 different labs. 27 were in person and 3 were virtual. And so we had 30 experiments from 29 different stat labs from 9 different countries. So what I want to be able to talk about and what I want to talk about in our discussion today, what were some common themes of the experiment? What are some common challenges that we've all identified to sustainability? Something I want everyone to kind of keep in mind is, what actions will you take based on this evidence? And that's a question that we'll try to answer in our upcoming sustainability workshop. And then what questions do we still have that remain about getting our stat labs on the path to sustainability? So some common themes that I saw, and then also I spoke with Tanya and Kim last night. And so these are some things that we saw across. Thank you. I don't mind. Sorry about the technical difficulty. There it goes. Okay, so the first theme that we saw was visibility. So making our labs visible to the community around us. So we saw examples of people implementing flyers, banners, using social media. We saw some what we call swag yesterday, so t-shirts and hats with the name of your lab printed on them. These are all pretty implementable ways to increase the visibility of your lab. One suggestion that Dr. Pooja Sengupta had from her virtual presentation was, especially for collaborators outside of academia, your presence can be made known online via websites, LinkedIn, or Facebook. So taking the time to develop an online presence can be helpful for your visibility. Intentional assessment was another theme that I saw. So a lot of labs implemented questionnaires and surveys, but not only were the surveys implemented, they were implemented intentionally, purposefully, and with the goal of using the results to make informed decisions. I thought Enabong did a really great job of this yesterday. I don't know if any of you went to his poster. Dr. Lamidi Ajibola, another virtual presenter, she formulated her questionnaire and then performed a pilot study followed by a reliability and validity analysis. And so when we're doing these assessments, we need to be intentionally thinking about how we're doing them and if they're going to accomplish the goals that we have for them. And then the long term goal of the assessments is, are we providing our community with the services they need, and what do we need to change in order to do that? So that was another theme that we saw. Student engagement and training. This is a big one. We must train the next generations of statisticians. We heard Professor Abugunde say this at the very beginning of the day, and it's something that continued as a theme throughout the day. So students are the future, and in order to continue the impact of our stat labs, we need to bring them in and include them in our process and in our decision making. Am I not holding it close enough to my face? Okay. Outreach. This is something Tanuki just spoke about. So conducting workshops, having walk-in consultation hours, especially if you are able to offer them for free to get people to come in to your lab. Having a mobile stats clinic where you go to different places on campus or around your community to provide statistical help. The Lisa video clip was something that we heard that was really helpful for providing outreach, and we posted that on the WhatsApp, and we will post it on the website, the clip that Kim made, and then looking outside your bubble. So if you're in academia, looking outside your bubble, going outside of what you might usually think to go to for your statistical collaborations. Dr. Marcus Nunes said, go where your audience is. And Dr. Sherifat Fulurunso said, let's evangelize statistics and data science. And that's something that I just really liked that saying and that phrase. And I think it's a good one to keep in mind. We must convince people, as Snooki said, support people with our statistics and data science. Next was lab infrastructure. And I think this is one of the most important, but also the trickiest components of sustainability. One idea that we heard was alumni engagement. So reaching out for alumni to be speakers, asking for donations, or asking them to serve as role models to come in and give talks to your current lab and students. It's really important to have staff members for continuity and task sharing. As Tanuki said, thinking about how you're going to transfer leadership once you're no longer at your lab, having a strong staff to be able to do that. And then also building relationships with decision makers to raise visibility and funds for your lab. So one quote from Professor Osama's presentation, which is one of the virtual ones, is to develop a dependable lab staff that is both well prepared and well paid. And so I think something to continue discussing is, how do we do that? Tanuki was saying some funding is a challenge for all of us. So how are we able to accomplish this goal, even if we aren't swimming in funds, right? I should click the next slide before I'm ready to go. Okay, so common challenges, funding is a big one. Recruiting domain experts for collaborative projects is a challenge that a lot of labs face. Being accessible while still being sustainable. So I think a big question that comes up is, what do you charge for your services? When do you charge? How much do you charge? And then also the process of building a strong infrastructure is another challenge that I think labs face that we saw across the experiments. One suggestion that I heard yesterday that I really liked from Professor Oluboyesoye was to go to your decision makers, explain the values of your services to your university, and say, we want to be able to offer these services for free, because if we can do this, we're going to get more research done, we're going to have more publications, and so in order for us to be able to offer this for free, can you provide us some funding? And so thinking of creative ways to overcome these challenges, I think, is something that we want to continue discussing in our network. So that's all I have for my summary. So now I'll move into the Q&A. And so we'll open it up, just other things to think about, suggested questions for the Q&A. So what other common themes and challenges did you see? What questions do you still have remaining moving forward? What suggestions to overcome the challenges have stood out to you in particular? And then again, what actions will you take in your lab based on the results and the discussions that we have? And then we'll talk about that some more during the workshop, which we'll have as our next session. So now I'm going to try to pull up, actually first we can start the Q&A and then I'll pull up the Zoom people while we start. So does anyone have any answers to these questions or any other comments, or thoughts, questions?
Noticed yesterday that maybe wasn't mentioned in her points.
I have a question. All right. Thank you. I'm from UMAT Lisa, Ghana. My question is, for example, with UMAT Lisa, of course, we are finding ourselves prone to mining companies around the university. The whole environment is more mining. And looking at re-establishing the STARS Lab, we believe that we can be able to tap into some of these areas. Then at the end of the day, get sponsorships for most of our programs. Sometimes, again, we also wishes to see how best we can learn from other existing labs, whereby we can be able to get good proposals. So I believe that at the end of the day, Lisa globally should also assist us in some of these ways by perhaps training some of the members within these various STARS Lab, likewise trying to cooperate with other existing Lisa STARS Lab, whereby we can have general training. Likewise, again, for my institution, we are, of course, introducing new programs. For example, we have statistical data science, which we believe at the end of the day, we could be able to tap knowledge from other existing statistical labs. So how do we, as a team or association, how do we overcome some of these challenges? Or how is Lisa Global going to assist, especially you, Lisa? Thank you.
Thank you. I think those are great points. I know we've talked about setting up some kind of like lab partnership to pair newer labs with more experienced labs to sort of help with some of that training and development. Does anyone else have any ideas or thoughts about Mr. Odoyi, right? What we just heard? And just to be clear, this isn't, I don't have all the answers up here for these questions. I want this to be a discussion amongst everyone. So if anyone has any other ideas or thoughts on that or anything else, love to hear them.
Thank you. So it's not really a question or it's like a comment. Okay, like what we've been discussing as regards collaboration between labs. I think this can be really worked out for babies lab to enjoy what grown-up labbers. Babies lab. So what I mean is young lab. Okay, like human, like you said, like Unilag Lisa, the youngest. So the reason is, if you want to really collaborate, I think this can be done if there are fundings, because if someone wants to come from, for instance, Statue Lisa, that is in Ghana, want to come to maybe UI Lisa, for instance, who bears the cost? The last time Anda came from Cleda Lisa to UI Lisa, he bear the cost. So we just assisted in some things. I think we need to focus on that, because if you actually want this to really work out, we need that things to be ironed out. So that is a kind of comment. So I don't know whether it's a question or a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I have a question, or maybe it's an observation or amalgamation of the two. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. For some times now, I have been a bit concerned and maybe fairly troubled about the geography of LISA. LISA 2020 is a global network. And if it is a global network, so far so good, we are in about 20 countries. In Africa alone, we are having 52 countries. So even if it is African-based, 10 over 52 are statisticians. We know what the score is. Now, if we go global, we'll discover that those of us that are here, we have that task, or do you permit me to use this word? We have the baptism of making sure that we redefine the geography of LISA 2020. It's going to be a very great and good thing. By the time we have this kind of convention next time, we'll have a map that will be able to spread further and go into some other places. So I want us to discuss how we are going to achieve that. And I think it's very cardinal. We cannot shy away from it. And we have the solution at hand, but it's a teamwork. So that's my question or concern. Thanks.
All right, any other questions or comments? I think we're still getting our virtual participants up.
Thank you very much. This is more like a suggestion to, especially the Ghanaian University. You know, the government agency in charge of reporting data to the presidency is normally the Ghana Statistical Service. And then normally they organize programs like the Population and Housing Census, other surveys. So the Ghanaian universities, I think we can also team up, send a proposal to the Government Statistical Service so that the next census or the next official assignment will come together. We see to the data collection procedures, we do the analysis, and I think we can get income for the whole LISA Ghana. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I wanted to reverse the clock a little bit back. We talked about the leadership. And I was so happy when we talked about the transition of leadership. I want to suggest that in order to broaden the leadership base, why can't we have regional coordinators? For example, Ghana region, you can have Nigerian region, so that when a leader or when a coordinator exits from the various universities, then you have the opportunity to climb higher to the regional level, and then so that we can be able to see how we have different experiences across the various regions. Thank you.
That's a great idea. That's something we've heard in Zoom meetings as well. And so tomorrow we're going to be working on our LISA charter. And one of the things we're going to be talking about is the various leadership positions within the network. And I know that we want to have different regional leadership positions. And so that's definitely something. And so we hope you contribute to that conversation tomorrow as well. Yeah.
Good morning. So it's the strange child to talk again. Well, before coming, I was hoping that, you know, our experiment would have yielded some form of outcome in form of funding, you know, so that at least that will more of make us give some kind of recommendations. But we are still hopeful because, you know, the time that we're supposed to hold that workshop is very close and it's no longer feasible. So our fallback plan now is to go and restructure and for a later date and redesign our concept. Now, where I'm going to with this is this. Our idea is that if we have an idea, if we have some kind of training that will be beneficial to some of these stakeholders, like Prof. Atinuke said, you know, we have to know how to come close to those that have the money, you know. So if we have some kind of idea on something they need, you know, we can put that together in a proposal. Like, now I'm talking like as a general body now. For example, for us who are in Nigeria, you know, for example, when we were putting up our own document, somebody actually looked at it and said, come, this thing might not just be limited to Kaduna State. Why don't we just try and see how we can make it like nationwide? I was like, yeah, that can be possible because we have other labs across Nigeria. You know, but given the timeline and all that, we couldn't really just start working on that. You know, so my point is, like, for us who are, and I'm talking now to the seniors really in Nigeria, for us who are in Nigeria, if we can look deep into, and maybe Ghana, you know, regionalizing the idea now, if we can look into some of these areas where all these stakeholders have need, and think of how we can provide those kind of needs and submit the paper to get funding. Now, that's one. Now, another take home I got again, which I'm thinking that we're going to work on as a lab, is the mother chicken, sorry, what was it? The chicken mother, I forgot how it's structured.
All right.
Good morning. I'm Hamid from Tattoo Data Science Lab. I also want to add to what my brother said about the regional integrations. And I know we have a global meeting. So once we have the regional sessions, apart from the global meetings we do twice in a month, then the regional people can also have their meetings so that you can discuss things locally and how to help each other succeed. And second thing is, yesterday when Dr. Sarifat made a submission, I think someone was asking a question about what about if the person is not an illiterate, where you can read and write. So linking it with what Prof. Olusobe said, if the people are willing to pay or support, then the interns could be attached to those illiterates. They go there, they pick the data for themselves. So because you cannot write, you cannot read or write, the person picks the data, analyze it, then interpret it in your local language, let you get a meaning out of it. So you make sure you attach somebody who understands the person's language. Then he does all the work, but he puts it in a language where the person or the business owner can understand the system, and they will appreciate statistics more. So in the end, like we said, you have to move from academics to non-academics. The people within statistics and people outside statistics, let them appreciate what we are doing. Because if you want everybody to respect the doctor or the nurses, because we all go to hospitals, is that not it? So if people don't know us because we don't go to them. So if we want to be aware or to be visible, then we have to move to them. Then as we give them services, the people will not be more aware of statistics and how impactful it is to the society. Thank you very much.
Let's keep alternating from that side of the room, so that's fine.
Thank you so much, Ilana. My concern really is what I would like to take away from this symposium is to learn how to create commercial value for what we do. Because if there's no commercial value, nobody's going to pay for it. So how do we give it commercial value? Because we need money to run the labs. And the institution does not see, I don't think they're going to see you as an essential component that should be directly funded. So we need to, I would love to see how to give commercial value to what we do and how to brand it such that people are willing to pay for that.
Does anyone have any like ideas, or have you had any success with showing the commercial value of your stat lab?
Good morning, everyone. I'm not going to talk about commercial value. Now, in addition to ways we can use to make our various labs sustainable, I believe everything rises and falls on leadership. And the leadership of the various stat lab, I am aware that when you are planning to, from proposed member to transition member, you have to get a mentor. I will want to see the global body do more in that direction and training the leaders that will be leading the various stat labs, because
learn to connect. 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 And when I say connect, it means you have to connect with the right individuals, the right institution, the right organizations, and so on. They are not the one, you should not expect them to come and connect with you. You are the one that will initiate and drive the connection process. Number 2 is collaborate, C2, collaborate, C2, collaborate. So in collaboration, a lot has been said about how to go about it. But at the same time, once you connect, your objective should be to collaborate. Your objective should be to collaborate. 3, C3, am I correct? Yes, C3, communicate. Communicate. So if you are collaborating, you must also learn how to communicate. And if there is no communication, there cannot be effective collaboration. So learn to engage through frequent communication. Of course, communication that respects the dignity of the parties. The last one, C4, is create. create. So the lab must, your purpose, your ultimate objective should be to create. If our labs are not creating something, we are not progressing. If our collaboration does not lead to creation of tangible assets or products, you have nothing to brand, you have nothing to market. And so the lab cannot be sustainable. So I repeat the four. C1, let's do that together. Connect. C2, collaborate. C3, and C4. If you can practice these four, I can assure you that your lab will be sustainable. Now, just yesterday or day before yesterday, I was telling Eric that I've already started my transition process in LISA. So I'm still part of UI LISA, but I may no longer be the driving or the one sitting in the driver's seat. Somebody else will have to drive while I sit beside the driver. So I think we need to learn to, first of all, build in the business world. We talk of build, transfer, and what? Operate. That's a B-O-T. You have to build. So in building, you have to sacrifice, you have to spend your time, spend your money, spend your resources. And it is because you want to transfer, not because you want to take ownership. It is because you want to build, operate, and then transfer. So our lab to outlive us. You cannot be alive and your lab is dying. So your lab should live while you die. Okay, that is the point. The other aspect which I don't want us to continue to talk about is asking Global LISA, the headquarters, to raise money for you, to do all this for you. See, you cannot have a child and you feed the child as a baby, you feed the child as a grown-up, you feed the child as and the child is old now. You marry for him, you do the wedding for him, and you build the house for him, and you still want to bury him. That's a complete disaster. So at the point, the child must be matured, right? And give back. And that is the stage every lab should be now. So I'm going to plead. One thing is funding. And the truth is that every lab must build its own capacity to write for grants. I think we need to repeat the training we had at Malaysia on the, as frequent, maybe part of our yes, should be about grant writing proposal. And one of the ways by which we can begin to work together is to write joint proposals for grants. So if we see any, let's share calls for grants, and then let's work together, 2-3 labs, let's work together. I'm happy that our congregation here reflects multidisciplinary. So there could be grants on geography, there could be grants on agric and business. So bring the grant and call colleagues from other labs to be part of the team. And that way we will get money to move around. Because if we write grants, we can build cost of, I'm talking too much. Kim.
So we are still trying to, thank you. Okay, we are still trying to connect with our Zoom participants right now, I think, so we'll go a little bit longer.
I'd like to share our experience from the Sustainability Plan. I'm Carla from Brazil, the lab. We don't have the Lisa in our lab name because of the language. We speak Portuguese, but we use another, Lisa is a woman's name. Our name is Leia. It's also a woman's name. That's applied laboratory of statistics. So that's the name that we use. When I'm participating in the network since almost the beginning, and we are a different case because we had a lab before that Marcus told yesterday. We had another name. It was statistical consulting, and we were facing problems. This previous lab was almost finished, and I've seen Eric's announcement, and I get motivated and applied when I met first time Olawale. And from this, we got motivation. The lab continued in our university. And I faced a problem since then. And I thought, when I leave, what will happen with this lab? And I thought that with the faculty that you had, it would be very difficult. And some of our faculty were retired, and we are hiring new positions. And I was trying to participate in the committee, and also one of the goals of the hiring person would be to work with the lab. We are looking for this profile that would have these skills. And we're fortunate to hire Marcus. And our idea is we don't have one director or one coordinator. We have a team. Since Marcus engaged in our department, we started working together. So sometimes we change. I am the director, he's the director, because of the institution's roles that you have one to change every 2 years. But we work as a team. So don't think of one person to lead the lab. And now we are also hiring more. We have hired more faculty members. And whenever it's possible, myself and Marcus, we are in the committee. And we also ask for the department to have on the skills participation in the lab. And we hired some faculty members, and we are now training 7 more faculty members to be able to join. So we we planned that all of those faculty members are possible directors of the lab. So we work together. We try to get this group of faculty members. And those people that are hiring are young. So when we are leaving, I am one of the first that will retire, but I know that will be people that are engaged that will keep the lab.
Just as a side note, people who are in LISA in the past, I mean, since the beginning, 2014, 15, always saw my name and Carla's name in everything we do. It was Carla or Marcos, Carla or Marcos. And in my presentation yesterday, you saw Carla, Marcos, Eliardo, and Andressa. These are the 2 of the 7 new members we are training, 7 faculty members. So finally, after 6 or 7 years, we are getting new people interested in joining LEA and continue the work Carla started, and I joined it right after. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think I'm going to try to see if we can hear from our online participants. Peter or Richard, can you try talking and see if we can hear you?
Hello? Hello?
Hear you.
Hello, this is Peter. Can you hear me, please? Okay, so I'm calling from Nigeria. I was with the program yesterday. I had some presentations and I was really excited. I love Dr. Lawali Awe's presentation. He spoke about collaboration to teach young children. I've also done the same thing to my educational center. I work on a project where we'll be able to data scientists. We hope to teach them using R, Python, and Excel. I know we will build on that. It's a wonderful program, but the challenges that I have discovered with training people has to do with awareness. Most children are aware of the benefits .
Are you still there?
Maybe as we wait for the participants to rejoin, I wanted to say that I was inspired by the business model from Professor Lopez. And there's another way to think about sustainability in terms of a business model. So for businesses and for stat labs, there are inputs, there are processes and activities, and then there are outputs or impacts. And so for our stat labs, we can think about the sustainability of the inputs, the sustainability of our processes and activities, and then the sustainability of our outcomes and impacts. And so for the inputs, you think about what does your lab need? What are the inputs? And there are many, but a few of them are, we need new students, always to be input into the process. We need domain experts with projects. Those are inputs. I'm not using funding as an input. And so we think about how can we get a sustainable stream of students, of workers, of interns, of faculty, of potential future directors, right? How can we, future coordinators of the lab, and the sustainable input of projects from domain experts, so that the way we do that is by connecting and communicating, by increasing visibility, by other methods that we've all discussed. And then we think about the activities. So the activities are training our new students and our onboarding our new faculty members. And so what do we need to sustainably train the students? We need the time and we need the resources. Basically, time and resources are what we need for all of our activities. So how can we sustainably get the time and the resources to train students? We have to think about that. At my university, I teach a course, and that's the training. And so that provides me the time and the resources. It's part of my job. So the university pays me to do my job. And part of that is to train the LISA students. We collaborate on projects. And so we need the time and resources for that. And so for the time, I get some research credit for research publications. For the resources, I have to continue my education in statistics and data science. I have to keep up to date on methods. And so that's something that I have to figure out how to do that sustainably. Another activity of the Stat Labs is teaching short courses and workshops. And what do we need for that? We need the space, but we also need the time to develop materials. We need the resources. We need the materials. And so one way that we can make that more sustainable is by sharing resources, so that somebody creates a workshop and then shares that with the rest of the network, or we have joint network workshops. And so one person can spend the time to then give a workshop for 10 different labs, something like that. So we have to think about how we can sustainably get the, make the workshop sustainable. Then if we think about the outcomes, it's the third step of the whole business model. And the outcomes are, the things that we measure. So we have to have a sustainable way to measure everything. How many? Well, so some of the outcomes. Let me back up. So the outcomes are ways that we know if we're doing the right activities. So if we are training our students well, we are educating them and mentoring them, then one of the outcomes is that they get good jobs. And we want to be able to record that, because we need to know if we're doing a good job. And we know that if our students get good jobs. And we also, of course, want to keep connected with them and communicate with them. We heard from Ezra about an alumnus who came and from industry, and it's really great to connect with our alumni. So for the outcomes, the sustainability part is that if our outcomes are meeting our expectations, then that's part of the sustainability. That means we know that we're doing the right activities. So other outcomes, maybe co-authored publications or projects or funded grant proposals. But so we need to sustainably measure these outcomes, and we need to also have a way to communicate the outcomes and impacts with the stakeholders. So those are just some of my thoughts, being inspired by the talk of the business model, that we have inputs into the lab. So think about how to make those sustainable. We have the activities. How do we make that sustainable? And then the outcomes are how we know if we're doing a good job, but we also have to keep track of those numbers and communicate the outcomes and impacts to our stakeholders.
Thank you, Eric. Can our virtual participants, are you there? We've been having some internet problems, so I apologize, but are you there?
Hello, yeah, I'm there. Hello? Hello?
Hello, we can hear
Hello,
you.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption. I had network issues. And, that's one of the major challenges we have when we do some of these things. I'm a collaborator at the University of Ibadan, Lisa, and we are well represented at that program. I was saying earlier on that I enjoyed yesterday's session. I joined, although I'll have this opportunity to just make some of the thoughts in my mind available to people who can think about it and provide solutions. I work with young children, and I discovered that they are more aware of statistics and data.
Talk now.
What you can do is you mute the machine's mic, not the volume.
Compare with their parents. So I would like to suggest if this very distinguished team can think out how to the parents so that they can understand some data. That will go a long way. Children to go to college and university to study medicine. And I, like like they say, the oil of our time. For that, the challenge that we have faced, the fact that these young ones are willing to do statistics and data science, but the parents are not, informed. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're gonna wrap it up and move into our coffee break. I think for the virtual participants, we're gonna try to set up some kind of alternative communication form. I think we might do some kind of message board that we can all chat over or something with them. We're gonna try to come up with something else because we do want to be able to interact with them, and we're sorry that this didn't work out. We have one more comment, quick comment.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I just want to talk about the sustainability, commercialization, and all the C's, the 4 C's. What we should do, I think we should try to identify our peculiarities. I'm in full support of writing proposal for grants. That one is the former way of sourcing money. But we should look at our environment. In Africa, it's more of an informal sector. And we should look at ways of making ourselves relevant. And I will use the example of what UNILAG did and what UI did. UNILAG, identified the problems when they wanted to host the Loga game. And if you go to malls around, what UNILAG did, you will see the charts glazed on a glass, placed at the entrance. Then you can locate yourself anywhere. And if any supermarket or any commercial center will pay for that. You know how much we charge. And for you to sustain your lab, you need money. And if you do that, it will get you money that you need, aside of writing grants. So, you know, in Africa, it's more of informal sector. So in that university, that lab identified the need, and the lab makes that need, although the lab did it free of charge. But not subsequently, the university has known the relevance of that lab, and they will contact the lab for further things. So please keep it up. Try to identify in your local area what are the needs. Then I went to, you know, that informal sector, that market, local market, and, you know, spoke to the traders, trying to sell, you know, what they can give to them, what they can sell to them. They are doing it free of charge now. I'm sure if that trader, you know, is making money out of that, he will pay any amount, you know, to seek the services of that lab. So I want to charge those individual labs, centers, start lab, that we should identify local problems in our area that we can solve. They will make ourselves relevant. We will not be running after them. With that, they will running after us. They will connect with the right people. Then again, we should identify our target. We should not just connect. We'll connect with the right people. Now we're in the era of politics. I know the politicians, they have money. In fact, they are the richest. Anyway, yes, so we should think of what we can do for them so that we can have from that. So in conclusion, I will just say that we have high money at the grassroots. So what can we do to those people? For those people at the grassroots, to tap from them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So with that, we're going to wrap up this session. We have a coffee break in the next room, and then we'll have more time later today and tomorrow to continue this conversation. So thank you everyone for your thoughts, and please enjoy some refreshments.